Hello, this is Angela, and today I'm sharing on listening to your inner voice and including the positive channeling of emotions. So last time I looked at hearing your inner voice, which is often the hardest part because we're so busy, being distracted, being caught up in the pace of change or modern life or just life. What's modern anymore? And today I'm looking at the process of listening to your inner voice and the piece that usually gets us in a lot of trouble, our emotions. And I will finish with how to channel those emotions positively. So if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat, and you can also email me if there's something you want to work on more specifically, angela@loveandrelationshipcoach.com. So the emotions are particularly strong in terms of our bodies, in terms of our consciousness as well. So emotions can be the area that seems to be really dominant when you start to listen to yourself, when you start to perhaps connect to yourself. If you do any sort of meditation, you may notice that there's a monkey mind. And if you listen to that monkey mind, there can be a lot of emotion. There can also be, underneath the emotion, energy of hurt. And I'm smiling as I say that because often we don't want to look at the hurt, and that's what creates the monkey mind. But if you slow down any monkey mind, if you do any connection work or any quiet meditative work or prayer work, even yoga, if you slowed that monkey mind down, if you went deeper, if you actually spent some time with that monkey mind and became friends with it, what happens is there are often, if not always, old hurts. And where they come from, we don't need to know. But knowing that there's hurt there is very helpful, because often in meditation practice or in listening to your inner voice and developing intuition, what happens is we try to be above hurt. We try to make out that we're good people. We try to be perfect. We try to think there's nothing really that wrong with us, and there isn't. But usually because there's unresolved hurt inside of us, we're spending a lot of energy trying to be a better person or a good person, or try to make ourselves feel like we're a good person or think that we're a good person. So meditation is a lovely way to start to address some of the things underlying monkey mind or underlying any unresolved hurts. And here today I'm going to give you some strategies to start doing that very easily without creating confusion and without trying to go into avoidance. So in the last video, on hearing your inner voice, I mentioned that we go into certain behaviors and scenarios. We'll go into busyness and then overwhelm. So this is a sign we're not listening to our inner voice, and we need to take a moment, however short that moment is, to start listening. So and some of the other scenarios are depression or anxiety. They have a nice dance or tango. And then some of them can be forgetting and also accidents or rushing. And then suddenly things start to pile up around you in your life that need to be addressed. And so problems start to emerge. Also conflict and noise in your environment. So taking time in those situations to start connecting to self can be challenging, because we have this perception that we need to be busy or we need to keep going. We can't stop. So that is also one of the habits, unfortunately, that arises from unresolved hurts. Because unresolved hurts, what did we do in the past when that hurt was created, whether it was early life or more recent? We just keep on protecting ourselves to move on, to carry on in life. So it's a very ancient habit. You're not the only one. Every human does it. It's part of our limbic brain. In order to survive when we have an emotional hurt or trauma, we go, I'm okay. We run away, we avoid, we attack, and then life goes on unless your life ends from that threat. So we learn very quickly as humanity, as a species, and individually in that tribe to carry on. So good on you for doing that. In a similar fashion, which is not embedded in the limbic brain, the emotional brain, in a similar fashion, we also have consciousness to help us manage that emotional hurt. So we have a gift available to us. It's very wonderful. And listening to your inner voice is the first step to do so. And so that means you're not just managing the emotion, you're actually starting to grow up. And I don't mean in years or maturity. I mean, you're starting to grow your consciousness. You're starting to expand your consciousness. And you're starting to become a much more expanded human being. You can also help others. So think about it also as a species. If when a child gets hurt and they grow up and they don't know how to manage that hurt or to grow from the hurt as a person, how can they raise children? So in some ways, parents learn quickly how to get over their stuff, but often if you're a parent, you know this scenario, you've stuffed down some old hurts to look after your children, and then they get triggered by the child's behaviour. It's a wonderful experience of humanity that our hurts will constantly be mirrored back to us, and that's not a bad thing. It's just in our busy world or our rapidly changing world, we think, I can't stop to look and listen to the inner voice. So let's look at the inner voice and emotions. And if you have emotions at the moment, you're in a perfect state to explore this with me. I have emotions all the time. I'm an emotional creature. And instead of trying to change that, what happened was when I embraced it, I discovered that my emotions were constantly 24/7 communicating, even in my dreams. So the benefit of in my dreams, when I'm sleeping, I'm not judging the emotions or trying to stop them. So dream work can be very potent. So also when you're conscious, the tips I'm sharing today about how to take that aspect of the dream life into our everyday lives. It can be 5 minutes, this tip I'm sharing with you now, and it can also be supported by your intent to grow from your emotions. So start with that intent. Last time when I looked at hearing your inner voice, I said, even just desiring to begin to build a relationship with your inner self, that's your spirit, that's your consciousness, that's your higher self, showing you, honoring you that this is important. And our society has sped up so much that a lot of people are pulling away and going into a little bubble of protection. Maybe it's into Netflix heaven, but that protection that people are seeking by pulling away from the world is really a good sign that their inner voice is trying to get that relationship. It's the inner voice is looking for a deeper connection to yourself. And sometimes being in the world is too much for people to experience. So if you have pulled away, that's a good sign because your inner voice is saying, hey, I want to build a relationship with you. So if your emotions are inside of you all the time, hi Colleen, lovely to see you and lovely to be with you now. So I'm sharing with our inner world, our inner voice, with the emotions, how to be with the emotions and to honor them. This is the first step, intent to build that relationship with your inner voice. Any relationship, whether it's with the person or an animal or with nature, with the divine or God, whatever you call that spiritual part of your world, a relationship with your neighbor, yourself. Any relationship is based on mutual respect, that that person is equal and the same as you. So if you're building a relationship to yourself, and in this case, the emotions, the emotional part of yourself, the intent is that you wish to honor that part of yourself. You don't have to heal, you don't have to fix, you don't need to change anything. about the emotions. You're just honoring the emotional aspect of yourself. So if you're watching it now and you want to experiment, you can just seal your aura. And by sealing your aura, you're simply putting yourself in a protective bubble, however you do that. And you can ask that in the sealing of your aura, only love can enter or leave your aura. And that will make sure that you're focusing on your energy and also giving a sacred space to your energy. And I do that every day. And I do that in many situations when I'm realizing I need to hone in and come clearer with my own inner energy, or with energy in general, and how I master or channel that energy through me, or build that relationship based on mutual respect and honoring that I'm equal. Even my emotions are equal. Emotions are not bad or good, they just are. And I'm developing a relationship with the emotions through me, in me, coming out of me and coming in. So once you've sealed that bubble around you, asking only for love to enter or exit the bubble, then you can look at what are the emotions that you're experiencing in that moment, being aware that some of them are constant, some of them change, and some of them come back. Sometimes they go and they come back. It's like a child, right? A child leaves and it comes back to the same home. So if there's anything that you need to do to honor the home of your body or your heart center, that's a very wonderful practice. Because remember, like a child, when it leaves a house to go to school, it comes back and it feels safe. So your emotions will build a better relationship with you when you begin to honor that heart or that body, which houses the emotions, that create the emotions that you experience, or that call in the emotions and send out the emotions. So after sealing the aura, just do something that makes sense to you to honor your own body that carries any emotions. And the body can include your consciousness. Some of you may prefer to honor your spirit. It's all up to you and that relationship that you build of how to create a sacred space to just acknowledge and honor these emotions. That will be unique for each person. And it's actually quite beautiful, actually, as well. So the intent is to simply honor these emotions and honor that sacred space that experiences the emotions. So once you have that, the first thing that comes to you when you ask to connect to your inner voice is what is the next step to focus on. What is my inner world or my inner voice showing me today? And it can be just a quick exercise that I'm sharing with you. 5 minutes is more than enough. And the trick is to keep on practicing. So now you can ask yourself in this moment, as you experience honoring yourself, what's the emotion showing you today? What's the feeling that's being shown to you today? And just take a note. What's the first thing that comes to you? So I can also share my experience today. I had a conversation, and one of the things that was given to me today was a gift that within my own inner voice was a feeling of honoring what was important to me in my life. And it was also my spirit, my spiritual path, or my spiritual dreams. So in my heart, I felt this deep feeling. I couldn't give words to it. It was very, very profound. All I could do was be silent and be happy that I could share that with the person in the conversation. So sometimes when we're feeling emotions are multifaceted energies. They are connected to earlier experiences in life and hurts and what we've had with the limbic brain. And they're also connected to our spirit. So I'm going to share some examples now. I've given you the practice, but I'm going to share some examples about how emotions are so valuable for developing a richer relationship to your higher self, to your divine, if you have a connection to the divine or the universe, and basically helping you to channel and canalize. In the French, they talk about canalisation when they talk about channeling. And I always think of canals in the French city of Paris, they have canals to channel the water from the river. The main river is the River Seine, and they have canals, and they were built based on natural water flows. And then the water supply for the whole city, if you go outside into the surrounding areas of the city, there's actual aqueducts that canalize the water. So in a similar fashion, our emotions, when they're channeled, when there's canals or ways to direct the emotion, can become quite positive. If we were just emotional creatures, feeling and feeling all day, we need to actually regenerate that. Water is the element of the emotion, and we need to have ways of regenerating that emotional energy. So sometimes our emotions, if we're picking up from others, can be too emotional, but also sometimes we're not aware of what are the distinctions between the emotions you may have that are connecting to you, to your higher aspirations, versus that emotions that could be just keeping you stuck in repetitive negative experiences of emotions, or lower experiences of that emotion that may be connected to old hurts. So in the conversation I was able to feel in my heart this sense of the value of some of the spiritual aspirations that the emotion was showing me in my heart. However, at the same time, I could see that there was a part of my emotions that was doubting, not the value of what I was feeling, but feeling not enough or not capable of holding that great aspiration of my feeling in the heart, or perhaps not capable on a personality level to make everything happen. So I was capable of having this awareness in my inner world of two different emotions that had a relationship. There was a spiritual aspiration and emotional doubts as well. So I'll come back to that because I wanted to address something Colleen has shared. Colleen has shared, how do I recall dreams as I go to keep and awaken no recall? So there's two things to address about that. Sometimes, so thank you, Colleen, for sharing that. Sometimes my partner does not remember any dreams and I remember a lot. So he was complaining to me. Not really complaining, just saying, no, I don't remember. And I told him, you don't have to remember because he has a relationship with me. No, because I just made fun of it because he's such a emotionally alert human being. He's very giving, kind. He experiences his emotions during relationships daily. He has a lot of people. He plays games with people and sport, and he teaches, and he works in a group. So he's constantly with people. So he's constantly working through the emotions with people. And in the moment, he'll relate to me later how he resolves them. So I watch him and go, wow, you're incredible. And some of us go through periods in life where we don't remember our dreams because we're doing the emotions in a different part of our consciousness. So be aware of that. That's the first thing. It doesn't matter if you don't remember them. However, number two, for Colleen, yeah, no keep sleep, okie dokie. So Colleen, if you want to build practice, first off, there's some physical things to start doing to encourage the memories to come. First off, it's around your bed. You could seal the bed. And this means that the bed itself becomes a sacred space for dreams or for emotions to start to show themselves, or for unconscious feelings, I felt that, to arise. You need a sacred space for that to happen so it's safe. Remember that our body is like a home for a child to come back to. Every day it goes out into the world, it comes back. And when you go to bed, you're coming back to that home of your body, and the bed is a sacred space. So seal that sacred space around the bed and set the intent. I would love to experience my dreams so I can, whatever you want, in a safe and sacred manner. And that will start to create the space, the physical space for your spirit, your divine to start working with you. That's been key for me. I noticed as I've moved through intuitive growth that things just didn't happen because I didn't create sacred space. And I'm very grateful or thankful that I've been taught that, because then I've been able to do a lot more with intuitive work, and my emotions have felt able to explore more safely or reveal themselves to me in ways that I don't need to work so hard. It's become very easy. So next, if you want to really work with the dreams, there's a couple of other tools, very important. A journal, something to write things down when you wake up, because then you're preparing your psyche to write things or to be ready. So the messages will be given. And the next thing is, before you go to sleep, you can say, before I sleep, I wish to focus on either just remembering your dreams, and tell yourself to remember the dream when you wake up. This may mean you may wake up at 3 or 4 or 5, but when you wake up, then the journal is there and you write it down. So the 3 physical elements are sacred space around the bed, even your pillow as well. Sometimes people put something around the pillow to just make sure the pillow has not collected any negative energies that need to be released. And then a journal. Before you sleep, tell yourself to remember. And in other videos, when I work with soulmates, I give you specific work around that. But first, practice. And then the body, once it, and the consciousness, once it knows it has a space that's safe, will start to bring the emotions to you. So today I would like to finish with being discerning about when emotions are based on old hurts, that limbic brain childhood stuff, or pretty much childhood stuff, because that's where the hurts originate, and then we keep repeating them throughout our whole life. And when some of the emotions are actually emotions that are expansive and aspirational. Like I said earlier in that conversation I had a feeling in my heart that was beyond words. You may have also had that very soulful emotion where you've met someone and there's no need for conversation. Your hearts just feel this connection. And then you can have an argument with them and have all the human problems. But underneath that, there's this nondescript knowing. That's the soul, and it's a very sometimes emotional feeling, but it's an emotion that's very expansive and very deep and very non-verbal. And in my experience, those are the emotions that have led me into many relationships without thinking. I don't think about things with some people in my life. I just do. I just am. I am present. Or in many ways, I make choices that are not logical. And I've done that consistently. So I had to surrender to that aspect of my being. However, now, because of creating sacred space, I can talk to my inner voice and start to explore, how come I have that connection? What does that mean? What is that feeling? I can ask questions about it. But the first step with the inner voice and the channeling of positive emotions is to understand that there's a deep emotion there. So often we go into relationships or soul connections unconsciously. We might have a strong bond and then we have a fight or breakup or a conflict. And then we get really emotional because of the conflict, and it's triggering our hurts from childhood. But the bond is still there. And when we come back to that person and then we think we're crazy, our personality self says you're nuts, and your friends say different things, and you start thinking that you shouldn't be doing this bond with the person, or you start to judge the bond and you start to criticize the bond, and you make more negative karma because you're criticizing something that's actually beyond the mental and the emotional thoughts that you're having, because it's a aspirational part of yourself that wants to know love, and you've chosen this soul to know that or you want to resolve something and you've chosen that soul to resolve that particularly old perception of the world or yourself. So soulmates are very important teachers for us, and that they stir a lot of emotions. And the aspirational emotions, the emotions that go beyond logic, are what pulls us together with these people, parent and child, spouse relationships, friends, communities. So those emotions are positive emotions, expansive emotions, even if they're including dark aspects of humanity where we hurt each other, because the bond is there almost stronger to allow some possibility to resolve that conflict. So those experiences that you have where you're dealing with lower type emotions, where that person hurt me, I don't know why they did this, I'm really angry, they're very annoying, but they're very important to start to see. And instead of trying to push them away, to understand how they're trying to help you resolve that bigger part of yourself that has very expansive, positive emotions that you want to expand into your world or to that specific relationship that you might have the annoying, smaller emotions with. Anytime there is a conflict, it's an opportunity to grow, which is extremely wonderful for us in our relationships. One of my teachers says life is relationships. And for me, the teaching has been experienced because when I have conflict in a relationship and my lower emotions get triggered, I always know that's something I came to work on and resolve from the spirit level. And yes, I still get upset, but I know that it's a gift and I don't like it because it comes in packaging that I don't like. But inside the packaging, there's something there for me and the other person too that I have the conflict with, or the community that I might have the conflict with. So the final tip I would like to share is, if you're looking at how to resolve emotions as you're listening to your inner voice and they're too overwhelming, or if you're in a relationship and you know there's some sort of strong bond with that person, yet the lower emotions are being triggered by some conflict or hurt between you, don't try to be a savior. That's my latest mantra. I'm not rescuing anyone, especially myself. I'm just going back to what I shared earlier, creating a sacred space for me to begin a relationship with the emotion. Carry it like a baby. So that's the most important thing. If the lower emotions get triggered, about he said, she said, I don't like this, that really upsets me, I'm angry, I'm this, rah, rah, rah. So the first thing to do is to create a container to canalize or channel that energy in a positive manner. So when we're negative or in little emotions, are very hard to be positive. So you have to do something to move the energy. I've mentioned in other videos, you can exercise, you can breathe the energy out the body. Some people sing or do creative, emotional expression to release the energy. Some people can't cry. So there's so many ways to release emotion. But the main thing is to create a safe space first to do that. I use a bubble to surround that space I'm going to be doing any releasing. So anything that I send out doesn't go to my neighbours or affect the workers next door. And in that bubble, I create the intent that any emotion that I'm releasing actually gets transformed into love. You can send it down to the earth and transform it into love as well, as it's sent down through the body, through your breath. Because it's very difficult to be all positive thinking and aspirational and happy if that lower negative emotion's operating. And if any of you are interested, I'm also going to share this week a Supreme Light meditation with the Australian New Zealand group that are working with the Supreme Light. It's also very wonderful for just giving a really great way to release and let go of any old emotions, because very quickly you're brought into states of peace. In the meditation, there's nothing required of you. You simply just watch the screen and experience the energy. All of the Golden Age movement work and Supreme Light work is very experiential. You don't even need to be really that good at breathing, even though there is breathing involved. But there's no expectation for those who are receiving or experiencing the meditation to be masters of anything. It's simply your desire to awaken to yourself or to the divine. So that's all I'll be sharing today. Thank you for joining. And once again, any questions, you can pop them in the chat or email me, Angela@loveandrelationshipcoach.com. Thank you.